Hello, my name is Fred Dodson, and I'd like to talk about the difference between fantasizing and visualizing. Visualizing is using your imagination for practical purposes, such as making your dreams come true. Fantasizing is wasting your imagination on daydreams that have no substance or basis in reality. Okay? So I teach that imagination creates reality, if you've followed my work, but it doesn't create reality if it's used as fantasizing. The difference between fantasizing and visualizing is this: belief. In other words, the imagery you believe in and immerse yourself into, the imagery that is followed up by specific action, strong emotion, and inner conviction, that's called visualizing. Fantasizing is losing yourself in an idea that you don't really believe in, that you don't follow up on, that you don't act upon. Okay? Imagination is a very powerful tool when it is supported by belief, practical daily life application, and action. Then imagination is the most powerful thing you have at your disposal as a tool. Do you think it's a coincidence that you have imagination? You can use your imagination for your specific purposes. So, anything you give your attention to grows, okay? Energy flows where attention goes. So you can immerse your attention in anything and it'll get bigger. So when you visualize something for the purpose of reality creating or attracting it into your life, you got to get a sense of realism. You got to combine it with memories, that's a very powerful way to do it, that are real in your life. Or you got to combine it with things that you already believe are true. A very powerful way to visualize is actually to imagine actions you could be doing if the reality you wish to come true were already there. So you imagine actions, things you'd be doing if your wish were true, and then once you stop visualizing, you go out and actually pantomime, mimic, or do the actual things that you were visualizing. Okay, so let's say it's your dream to own this fantastic mansion at the beach, and you visualize that beautiful mansion at the beach, and you see yourself unlocking the door with a key, and then you stop your visualization, open your eyes, and now to support that, to physicalize that, it's very recommendable that you actually take a real key and go to a real house like that, and at least, if it's not your house, pretend you're walking up to the door as close as you can get, or at least walk past it, or at least spend a day at that beach, for example. So what you want to do to have your imagination influence reality is you want to find a way to act these things out that you're imagining. That's one very, very powerful application of visualizing. It's also called acting as if, or fake it till you make it. Let's say you see yourself as the CEO of this company, sitting in this beautiful chair, in this round chair. So you visualize that, and the next time you go to this furniture shop and you see such a chair, you'll at least want to sit on it and feel what it feels like. Because the closer you can get to the actual energy of the thing, the easier it's going to manifest in your life. You see, you only get the things that you're used to, the things that feel normal to you, the things that are already in your energy field. And if you're going to be fantasizing as if something is very distant from you and not be identified with it, as if you're seeing a dream, it's not going to manifest. Now, the same thing applies to technology and to movies. There's different ways you can use images, movie images or pictures or technology, virtual reality, for example. Many people spend a lot of time these days in virtual realities. You know, there's some use this gear, these glasses, and they go into different worlds on the computer, but they do so in the assumption that it's not really real and that it has nothing to do with their physical life, that they're separate from it, or that they have to escape. Okay? That's not visualization, that's escapism. So escapism or daydreaming is not the same thing as visualizing for the purpose of bringing something into physical form. You can use these technologies instead of having them use you. You can actually go into a virtual reality that represents the life of your dreams. And if you do that with the intention of bringing some of those ideas and feelings into your normal daily life, it's going to have a different effect. But if you go into a virtual reality with the idea that, well, I'm escaping from my normal life, and as soon as I'm done with this game or this area, it's back to the boring, mundane, normal life. So you're labeling normal life as mundane and boring, and you're labeling the virtual reality as wonderful. That's not it. You gotta mix the two, bring the two together, so that in fact you no longer separate so strictly between so-called fantasy and reality. Do you see what I'm saying? The same thing can be applied to movies. You can watch movies with the conscious intention of learning stuff from them for your own life. So if you see a character that you like, you might ask yourself, how could this apply in my daily life? How could I learn the skills that this character has? How could I dress like this character? How could I bring that into my life rather than just sitting there and using it as an entertainment device or a device to escape elsewhere? Okay? Reality creation is not about escaping, it's about bringing that which you enjoy, which you like, into your normal daily life, bringing the higher into the so-called mundane, into the boring as much as possible. It's about being connected to the here and now, not escaping from the here and now. Big, big difference. Okay? People often ask me, Fred, isn't all this reality creation and goal setting and visualizing an escape from what is, an escape from the here and now? Well, it isn't if you can bring the so-called future into the now. That's what reality creation is all about. Can you bring the future into the present moment, that which you like into the today? Okay? I don't teach that you should split between now and some better future. Okay? That's why I don't actually use the word goal much, because goal implies that there's something better in the future. I like to use the word intention. Okay? And any intention or goal you should create should be felt and visualized as if it's already true. And it should be brought to the best of your ability into the now. So let's say you want to become a musician. You shouldn't dream of that only as something in the future. You should bring instruments into the now, even if you can't play them yet. Or you should take music lessons in the now. You should bring your goal into the today as if you're already living it, already having it. And if you're already having it, you generate an energy field by which it comes into your life much, much more quickly. Traditionally, people go about it like this. They set a goal, they split between now and the future, and then they say, okay, I got to take action steps to reach that goal. That's the traditional way of doing it. That's not the way I do it. That's not the way I teach it. What I teach is taking actions from the perspective of the goal already being true. Not only actions toward the goal, but actions you would be taking if it were true. So before I gave seminars, this is an example I always give, I pretended to be giving seminars. I booked rooms, I pretended to be speaking in front of people in order to make that which I envision for the future as real as possible in the now. I even invested money into seminar rooms, even though I had no students. Okay, I acted out that which I want. So, reality creation is best done from the inside instead of from externals. Nonetheless, you can use externals to intensify your own emotions. So you can use music when you visualize. You can use movies, you can use virtual reality. If they don't use you and you use them, big difference. Even if you like gaming, now I myself am not a gamer, but I know a lot of you out there, they love gaming. You can use that as a tool for consciousness expansion. Okay, for example, one thing you can use gaming for is to find a state of attentiveness and calm. Because you know that most online games and most gaming communities and the higher levels you have to go to require that you become more calm in order to win the game, in order to progress. The only way to become more attentive is to become more calm. If you're too tense, you usually don't win the game. Okay? So many people, they can win games through extreme tension, but they don't feel good after they win the game. They don't feel at ease, so it means they're not an expert at it yet. If you're too focused, you're too tense. Can you win the same game without being tense, with being calm? That's one example of how gaming can train your consciousness, if used wisely, rather than as an addiction or something that makes you nervous and tense. One way that I use technology to immerse myself into realities that I prefer is I have my smartphone and I'm subscribed to certain Tumblr and Instagram picture blogs. And when I go to my meditation room, to my sacred room, I either pray or I meditate or I scroll through beautiful pictures that represent the reality that I prefer. Okay, pictures of abundance, pictures of wealth, pictures of peace, pictures of lucidity, pictures of beautiful places, beautiful people, and so forth. In that sense, I fill and brainwash myself. I crowd my consciousness with nothing other than beauty. And if you crowd your consciousness so that no negativity has any place in it, you can't help but experience that which reflects your consciousness in your life. Okay, that's what it's all about. It's all about crowding yourself with the good, the true, and the beautiful to an extent that nothing else has place and you can attract nothing else into your life. You see, you always get more of what your attention is on. More and more and more and more, and it just keeps getting better. And indeed, life keeps getting better in this way. So if you want to get started with actual visualizing as opposed to fantasizing, I recommend you search the articles on my website regarding scripting, okay, regarding visualization, regarding physicalization, which is the action implementation of what you imagine, and regarding belief. And you read up on that, read up on those articles, and really get into it and manifest the life of your dreams. My name is Fred Dodson. Thank you for listening.